Alright everybody, this is the end result of our work. If you want to see how I built this wooden toilet seat, stick till the end of the video. Alright friends, so today we're gonna do something a little bit unusual for this channel. We're gonna build a toilet seat for that toilet. Sorry in advance for the echo, this is an empty bathroom, so it's the natural sound of it. Why I'm building it? Well, I really can't find a wooden toilet seat for a toilet of this shape. And the only one that I could say it's alright on the internet, it's 100 euros. And that's way too much. And it's also from a shady site, so don't really trust it. Because I really want to match the color of the toilet seat with the color of the table. Because I want to make them both out of wood and then paint them with the same wood finish. Alright, so let's proceed, enough with the talk, and let's get to the first step. So the first thing that we need to do is to get the shape of the toilet. This is a special shape, this is a toilet that is a little bit more square, right? Usually toilets have are rounded around here, but this one isn't. So every toilet seat that I find is not perfect for this. Also, before starting, don't forget to put some protective suit. It's always a good idea. You don't know when you're gonna, I don't know, touch your clothes, and if they're good clothes, you're gonna regret it. So get a piece of cardboard. This one is just from a pair of shoes, and put it on the toilet. Right? And get to work. Make sure it exits at every point, and start drawing around. One thing that you should take in notice, here are the holes for the toilet seat, or the mechanism that catches the toilet. So leave a little bit of space in here for the mechanism, right? And because I want it to be flat in here, I have no need to do it around. So I'm just going to use the really straight shape of this cardboard. If you don't have a straight cardboard, then just take something really straight and do this line as well. Alright, so let's start. Take the marker and go around. Take on the brush. Take the marker. Let's take the cardboard and see what we got. Well, this is the shape that we need to have. So I'm gonna take some scissors, cut the shape, and come back for the next step. So I cut the cardboard in the shape. It fits perfectly around here. Alright, so not to make any commercials of this firm, I don't even know them. But this is the shape, alright? So what will happen now? We have the exterior, and that's great. But the toilet seat has to have the opening. So how do we get the inside? Well, I'm gonna just cut a hole in here, right? A small one, just so I can put my hand through the cardboard and then draw from the inside. So now I have a hole, and this toilet hasn't been used yet since I'm still building this. But in case it has been used, put on some gloves that you use for cleaning. And let's get for the dirty job, let's say. So take the marker out again. Make sure this is really well aligned. Alright. There it is. Put one hand so you can keep it from running, and just go around the inside, alright? Wait up, with the brush. Because you brush on these steps. You gotta put the toilet seat, and I'm not gonna solve it. Alright. Another piece. So you can please put on the. And let's see what we've got. Yep, so we've got the shape from the inside. Looks great, looks symmetrical, so I'll just check if these ones are like at the same distance, alright? Alright everybody, so I'm back. Here we have the shape, and let's measure it. And you'd say it looks quite symmetrical, why would you measure it? The fact is that because your hand was in the hole and doing it around, you might have missed some points. So here we have 6 centimeters, and here we have 6, that's great news. Let's see, here we have 6.5, 5.5, but here we have 4.5. So this whole image, it's crooked in there a little. We need to take care of that before we do any cuts. Here as well, let's see, till the corner, 9 and 10. Alright, so this shape is actually crooked, and it looks crooked, right? It's a little bit pushed in this direction. So we are gonna correct it. And also, what I'm going to do, not just correct it, I'm gonna make it a little smaller. Because the toilet seat should be bigger than this. Alright? Great, so how are we going to do this? I can lay it down here because the cardboard is pretty sturdy. And in here I have 5.5 centimeters. And what do I want it to look like? I want it to be like 6.5? 6.5, close to 7. Not too much because if the hole is too little, it's not going to be comfortable. So 6.5 is going to be alright. So just put this here and take some marks. Alright. So in here we are at 6 and I could say 1.5 in here. Alright. So what does it inside? 6.5 is going to be around here. Great. For this shape, it's also 6. And I'm going to be going 6.5. So this kind of looks alright. It's okay if you miss a millimeter or two, because when we're gonna cut the wood and we're gonna scrape it around, any difference is gonna be pretty much solved, alright? Great, so I'm just gonna cut this across this line and come back. Alright guys, so now I'm on the balcony. Since this is an apartment, this is not a house. It would have been nice if it was a house because I would have worked directly outside on the ground. But in this case, we're just gonna use whatever we have. So I've got this big piece of a wood slab. I think you can call this plywood. It's 1.8 centimeters in thickness. I might use 2 sheets for the actual seat and 1 sheet for the cap of the toilet, I can say. But let's see how sturdy it is after we cut this. Might be needed 2, 1 might be enough. I'm really inclining to 2 pieces, but we shall see. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to draw this shape on the wood and then cut it with a jigsaw. So let's start. So I've got myself 2 power tools. This is a handsaw, and I also have here a drill. Alright, with this drill I'm Right guys, so what I have now is this. This is the big part of the toilet, alright? And one sheet is enough for it. The thing with the sitting part of the toilet, it is too thin to withstand the human pressure. Like I can even bend it if I'm putting my hand on it. And that's not cool. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take 2 sheets of it and I'm going to make it really sturdy. Don't worry, it's not going to be so thick because then I'm going to take the pile and just smooth it out, make it a little smaller, right? But another thing to mention, this is the grain of the wood of this plank, right? But for this one, it goes like this. And it's really important to do this cross with the pattern of the wood. Unless you do this, you're not gonna get so much strength. If you put them both with the same pattern, it's not gonna work. You need them to be opposite, so perpendicular. This one is like this, and the other one is like this. Keep that in mind, it's really important. And don't worry about the thickness, because we're gonna chop lots of it with the pile. So I'm gonna glue these 2 together. I have some glue here. They should be alright. Not some really expensive glue, but it's quite powerful if you apply lots of it. So I'm gonna take these 2 apart. So I'm gonna put these here. I'm gonna put the other one. Let's see if this is the correct orientation. No. Yep, this is it. Because they're not 100% symmetrical. By the way, I've used some plastic so I don't stain my floor. Now let's take the glue and spread it really well across. So guys, so let's check the progress. So the 2 pieces of wood are glued together. Alright guys, so let's check the process. These 2 pieces of wood are glued together now, and I've also added some screws on them. Remember that pre-drilling is a really good idea. So yeah. So what are we gonna do next? We're gonna take a pile like this with teeth. Make sure this is the wood one and not the one for metal, and start rounding out the edges, because in the end we're gonna use sandpaper. So don't worry if the edges seem rough with this one, it's no problem. So this is gonna be the top part, and this is the one that we want to round most. So we're just gonna go around.
So it got really late last night and I stopped, and this is the result of me piling the edges. Alright, it's rounded up. It looks something like this. I've rounded these edges as well, though they look a little rough because I sanded them with a big sponge. But like this is 60 granulation, just like that. I'm gonna go to smaller and smaller sandpaper. Like it's quite confusing because the bigger the granulation, the smaller the actual bits of the sandpaper. So I'm gonna go 120 and then 180. And what I also have to do, I also have to round up the cap of the toilet and sandpaper it as well. And I'm gonna come back after I've piled the edge. So the same motion, not so hard, just go on the right corners and round them. The same movement that you do with the pile is the same movement for the sandpaper. I have a sponge because it's easier, but you can use plain sandpaper and it's gonna actually be really cool on the edges. So just plain sandpaper. Don't have any now, but yep, this is how it looks. So let's get to the job and finish this as well. Alright, it took me some time. Just one hand is quite heavy. So what I did, I've worked the wood a little, just so I could fit this inside, and so that they would be straight. This would be straight as well. This goes in here and it has its own dedicated space. I'm gonna round it out a little bit more. Even though it looks like it's a little bit bigger, it's supposed to be that way because wood is working and it might expand. So that's one thing to know. I need to shave a little bit here as well. Yep. If you have sturdier wood and you can make it thinner, then this wouldn't be a problem, but for me it was, so keep this in mind. Yep. And I'll be right back when I do this other one. About the space, well, usually toilet seats have a little bit of space between the actual toilet and the seat. In this case, there's still some space. It's not that much, it's I think 2 millimeters. So I'm gonna get some rubber pads, 2 millimeter rubber pads, and put it on the screws. And it's gonna be plenty of clearance for the toilet seat. So be right back when I do the other one as well. Just in case somebody's curious how I did these cuttings, I've just used the chisel. Sorry, I'm only doing this with one hand. So you just go, you go with the chisel. Sorry, one hand is really hard, but that's the process. Lots of patience and chiseling around. Yep. So now I'm testing to see if everything is alright. This is not a line, but just to see if everything is okay. So this is how it looks. Here it lifts it by a little, the hinge. So I'll need to add some fitting here of the same size, so I can make this equal. In here there's also a little bit of space that I'll have to continue here as well with some small feet. So we have the desired space. It's not as much as a traditional toilet paper like the one that you buy has lots of space, but it should be enough. There isn't so much water in here as some producers might think. So I'm gonna take this aside. Really happy that this stays flush in here. And under there I've got those two. I'll just finish it around, sandpaper some more. I'll have to add some filling to fill in the gaps, and that should be about it, about the finishing touches. And I'm gonna use some wood protector. I don't know how you call this in English. I think it's wood tarnish, if I'm correct. This helps the wood stay away from water, stay away from mold, and it protects it against UV rays. Here in the bathroom there are no UV rays, but it will protect it against water, which is the most important thing, because I don't want this wood to expand and not to be usable anymore. So I'll be right back after I finish filling in the holes. I'm just gonna use some plain filler, and I'm gonna come with a little part about it in a few seconds. Right, so let's see the coloring. So I'm gonna take a brush, just a normal brush, dip it into the tarnish, the wood sealer. Alright, and then apply it, and make sure you spread it really well. Alright,
So the first layer has been applied. It looks a little bit rough, especially on this one who has lots of curves and edges. This one looks more uniform. What I did, overnight it got a little bit rough. Like you'll see that the wood is working when in contact with this substance. So it started to be really sandy to the touch. So I took a really good sandpaper. This is 180 granulation. Sanded it all out, cleaned it with a clean cloth, and now it's ready for the second application of this wood finish. Right, so this is the end result. I've also added the hinges of the mechanism. It isn't that hard. You just need to drill the holes. Like I have the drill here. You drill the holes and you just screw them in. So this is how it looks in the end. I'm not going to show you how I mount it because my toilet has a really special mounting mechanism, so I don't think it will be of any use. But I really hope you enjoyed the video and you enjoyed the process. What else I will do in the future, but I don't have them now, is to add some feet to the toilet, some really small rubber feet, to cover the screws and in between the two components. And stay tuned, because if you have asked yourself what's with all of this wood in here, well, I'm gonna build a loft bed. This is gonna take some while, the other video, but these beautiful wood bars, how do you call them in English? Wood studs, I think, are going to be transformed into a loft bed. So see you soon and have a great time.